Hi. In 9 years, I haven't gotten a single raise. And I'm the only one who hasn't lost out because of it. Explain that to them.
Look at this number, $54,000 a year. A normal American salary. Nothing special. The guy gets a raise, $1,000, and his family ends up $25,000 poorer. Not figuratively, not in a sense. According to calculations by the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta and the University of Chicago, he earned more, and he ended up with less. How that is even possible, I'll show you in 4 minutes. It's the ugliest part of this video. But first, an easier question. Why does someone making $500,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck more often than someone making $200,000? That is not a typo. That is data from a large survey. And both cases have the same explanation. A raise by itself does not make you richer. A raise triggers 3 mechanisms. And all 3 work against you. Let's take them one at a time. Goldman Sachs surveyed more than 5,000 Americans. The question was simple. Do you live paycheck to paycheck? Under $50,000 a year, 57% said yes. Makes sense. $200,000 to $300,000, 16%. Also makes sense. More money, fewer problems. $300,000 to $500,000, 41%. Stop. Read that again. People started earning almost twice as much and started living worse. A graph that was supposed to go down turns around and climbs. If the size of the salary decided everything, that break could not exist. So it is not about the amount. It is about what happens to the money in the first months after the raise. Speaking of raises, write in the comments what % your last raise was. Just the number, one number. In a minute, you'll understand why I'm asking. The average raise at an American company is about 3.5% a year. That is not somebody's opinion. That is the budget companies set in advance. Mercer and the Conference Board give the same number year after year. Now look at the number you just wrote in the comments. And ask yourself the question the HR department never asks. How much did prices go up that same year? Usually by about the same amount. Here is what that actually means. You walked into the office. They told you, "We value your contribution. We're raising you 3%. You said thank you. You walked out happy. They did not raise your pay. They left it exactly where it was. It is an escalator going down. You run, you sweat, you stay on the same step, and they praise you for the effort. Back to our $1,000. 54,000 became 55. That is growth of less than 2%, which means, in terms of what you can actually buy, it is not even zero. A raise below the rise in prices is not growth. It is a zero with a nice name. And millions of people spend an entire career collecting renamed zeros and sincerely believe they are moving up. But that is still the mild version. Because next comes the place where a raise turns into an actual minus. First, let's kill the myth half the country believes. A lot of people think this. If my salary goes up, I'll land in a different tax bracket and take home less. That is not true. The higher rate applies only to the part of your income above the threshold, not to the whole salary. On taxes, earn more, take home more. Always. Now the real mechanism, the one almost nobody has heard of. It is called the benefits cliff. Government support, food assistance, a subsidy for health insurance, a subsidy for childcare is tied to an income threshold. Below the threshold, you get it. Cross that threshold by a single dollar and the support disappears. It does not shrink gradually. It disappears. Not by 20%, entirely. And now, that number from the start of the video. The state of Illinois. A family raises its annual income from $54,000 to $55,000. The raise is $1,000. The loss in childcare subsidy, more than $25,000. $1,000 came in, $25,000 went out. This person honestly worked better. This person got promoted. And it set his family back a couple of years of their life. Economists call this the effective marginal rate. In plain words, how many cents you lose on every extra dollar you earn. For lower-income workers, reviews of the research put it somewhere between 17 and 65%, meaning more than half of a raise can evaporate before you have spent any of it. And where that number crosses 100%, the cliff begins. And this is not rare. The Department of Health and Human Services estimated that more than 3 million households with children sit in the zone where rising income runs into a cliff or into a long plateau. 3 million families the system tells to work harder and punishes for exactly that. But let's say you are above every threshold, you receive no assistance at all, and cliffs do not touch you. Then the third mechanism kicks in, and that one spares nobody, including the 500,000 crowd. The third mechanism is the quietest, because it does not look like a loss at all. It looks like a reward. Here is how it works. The raise comes in. You tell yourself, I earned this. And you did earn it. You make one upgrade, not 5. 1. A slightly better apartment. Or a newer car. Or you just stop looking at the prices in the delivery app. And here is the trap almost nobody thinks about. That upgrade stops feeling good in about 3 weeks. Your brain adjusts and files it under normal. The pleasure leaves, the expense stays. A month later, you feel tight again, and you start waiting for the next raise. But that is not even the dangerous part. Almost none of those upgrades are one-time purchases. They are a subscription, rent, insurance, a car payment, all monthly. A one-time raise turned into a permanent obligation. The money came once, the bill comes every month, for years. And there is one more effect nobody likes to say out loud. Your circle changes along with your income. New colleagues, new acquaintances, a new standard for what counts around here as a normal dinner, a normal vacation, a normal car. Nobody forces you into anything. You are just not the one setting the bar anymore. That is why 41% of people earning $500,000 live paycheck to paycheck. They are not stupid. They ran this cycle 10 times in a row, and every time the lock clicked shut a little higher. Now the main thing, the reason it was worth watching this far. The moment you get to stop working is not counted from how much you earned in your whole life. It is counted from how much you spend in a month. Double your fixed expenses, and you now need double the reserve to stop one day, which means every raise you immediately turned into a new standard of living did not bring you closer to freedom. It moved the finish line away. You ran faster, and the finish line backed up by exactly the same distance. And here is the real conclusion of this entire video. The problem is not the raise. A raise is a wonderful thing. The problem is the first 90 days after it. That window decides whether it becomes your money or becomes a bill that keeps arriving for the next 7 years. And the funniest part, in those 90 days you do not need to do anything. Exactly the opposite. Change nothing. Even our sloth could handle that. He never changes anything, ever. And that is the whole point of this channel. It is not the fastest who survive. It is the calmest. 3 things worth keeping in your head now. 1. Your raise is not the number HR said out loud. It is that number minus the rise in prices. Always count the second one. 2. If your family receives any government assistance, you can look at the thresholds in advance, before the raise conversation, not after. The cliff is not a scare story. It is a table of numbers, and it is open to everyone. 3. And the simplest, 90 days. If your fixed expenses have not gone up in that time, the raise stayed with you. If they have, it already belongs to somebody else. And here is a challenge if you want it. Write 90 in the comments. It will mean that for the next 3 months, you change nothing. Then come back here and tell me how it went. I honestly want to know how many of you make it. That is it. Nothing complicated. Just slow. Subscribe to the Sloth.